Welcome, everyone. This is another one of our series of interviews with experts in subject matters that matter to us as counselors and teachers and advisors. And I'm very pleased to have with me today Dr. Rich Feller from Colorado State University. Welcome, Dr. Feller.
It's a pleasure to be here. Nice to chat with our colleagues. Thank you.
Well, so you and I met recently and we're talking about some of the research that you're doing and some of the interesting projects that you're in. So I have a few questions for you.
Sure.
My question is, what did you want to do as a career when you were growing up?
Well, I didn't come from a lot of opportunities. So for me, I was excited to become a union house painter in New York with my brother because he had a nice car, he was doing cool things, and he seemed to have more than my parents had. So honestly, I was impressed by the opportunities that a job like that would give me. No one from my family had gone to college previously.
So how did you get into career research then? How did you go from that into the field that you're in?
Yeah, I got to school because I played basketball, very honestly, and I stayed through that to get involved in some research at a master's level. And my graduate research assistantship was related to moving special education students, or adults actually, who might have been called mentally ill at the time, in institutions, and get them out to job coaches in the workplace and group homes. And that was an employment issue. So that's where I got an appreciation for the power of career development. I had a very large grant at the university trying to integrate academic and career tech education and helping counselors rethink how we did that, because I'm a real advocate of career tech education. I have interest in interest assessment, being co-author of the career decision-making system, so always looking at the powers of interest. And then I also have an interest in aptitudes now, and also an interest in storytelling. So those are some of the research projects that led me to my present work, which is a board game called Who You Are Matters.
So tell us more about these different, decisions. And I read about your board game. So tell us a little bit more about that.
Sure. So I've always cared about helping give people a voice. And I think interests really matter, but interests really create an exposure bias, which I think is a social justice issue. You only know what you have seen or done, or what your parents could afford to put you in front of. While I value interest, I've been really concerned about this notion of kind of natural and stable aptitudes that we haven't paid attention to. And we're now seeing great research coming out. We have lots of good data that shows if we can help people identify their aces or their hidden gems or these natural aptitudes, it expands the opportunities they can consider because they see that they have the potential to do these jobs. And that's really, I think, really going to change the industry. The value of aptitudes has been undersold. We have now tons of new research looking at the power of that. And then I also am interested in storytelling, that what people say, the meaning they make from their stories are critical. And if you listen to good storytelling, they tell you a lot about their desires and what it is they aspire to and what possibilities they think they have. So we've included that in a board game now and an online tool as well.
So how can we as counselors or advisors, working with students, how can we encourage that storytelling or finding those aptitudes? Because you're right, traditionally it's always, well, what are you interested in doing? And, I love some of the surveys. I was like, well, are you interested in driving an armored truck? Well, as a 17-year-old, I have no idea if I want to drive an armored truck or not. So how do we help students, dig and find those aptitudes or explore their stories?
Yeah, well, I mean, a simple way without going to any tools is to ask people, who are the people in their life that they really want to be like they enjoy their lifestyle as well as the kind of person they are, and get them to talk about why that's the case. And that really identifies some internal motivation and values and concepts about prestige and where they see themselves going and their whole view of possible selves. So I start there because it's real simple and easy. The board game then goes through and has people tell stories based upon what we call intentional probes by the cards they use to talk about their desires and their assets and their strengths and other people in their life and qualities that really matter to them. And by storytelling, you generate this sense of going backwards to say, really, where did I feel whole? Where did I feel good? And that storytelling then gets documented in our career statement that we create. And then it allows them to think about looking at possibility cards. So on one hand, the narrative assessment model is really critical, and I value that tremendously because we've got to initiate conversations for people to tell what's in them and get it outside. On the other hand, we think there's real power in assessment in looking at aptitudes, because aptitudes are those hidden gems they have, the aces that show up every day that are natural and stable that we don't measure in schools. And our data there is showing convincingly that if you just ask people what their interests are, according to a certain set of jobs, for example, high demand jobs in Atlanta that we're looking at, very few of those jobs are identified. If you ask about, let's measure your aptitudes and where's the potential to do them, you're finding amazing their data, exponentially number of occupations that appear. And that's very powerful if you're talking to women or people who come from limited resources.
So is there, in your research, or as you're working with students on these different aspects, is there an age to start, like an ideal age, or what does your research find, or what are you finding is like a good age to start looking at this?
Well, my personal research says, instead of asking people what they want to do, ask people what they want to become, because it's really a sense of futurizing, seeing possibilities. And that's why I get them to say, tell me about people in your life that really excite you, that are doing cool things that you think are interesting, because they don't have the language or the ability to evaluate them, but they can evaluate people. And the notion of becoming is really the concept we have to get to people. You're not fixed, and you also can grow. And those are critical points. And then I frankly am a great advocate of tools, and that's why I like YouScience.com, and our research is really powerful. We're growing rapidly. We have states now adopting it. And then Who You Are Matters games, really, that game puts 4 to 5 people at a table to do peer-to-peer feedback and give storytelling a chance to get yourself heard. So high interaction, good science, I think all that stuff really matters.
So, but if I'm a student who's never been exposed to, say, the medical field or somebody in that area, how do I know? I think that's where the aptitude part of it comes in, because I don't know, in my story, I don't know how to relate to them because I've never been exposed to that.
That's right. And what we do know is we know the kind of aptitudes required to be a certain kind of worker. So let's say we'd say a medical tech or a radiologist or a physician. We know the aptitudes required to do that. That's good science. So if we can measure that and say, here's what we found out about you that shows up all the time, and here are the occupations based upon aptitudes that you could do well in, you have the potential to learn quickly in. Let's look at these and let's go explore those occupational titles, or get you informational interviews, or get you a mentor to consider that. If you just ask people their interests, they only report post facto what their experience has been.
So tell us a little bit more about YouScience and what that is and how that helps students.
Yeah, YouScience comes from 75 years of research from the Ball Foundation. And the challenge with aptitudes is it's really good science, so it takes time. It's not self-reported, it's measured. And
Right.
many of the tools that were out there were very expensive and reached very few people. And you had to go spend hours to do them in some cities in some cases, and then also come back to get face-to-face interpretation. Now with the power of big data and algorithms and on technology, which is really wonderful, our CEO, for example, helped start WebMD. So we know we can use technology to get information to people to be better consumers. So now, frankly, very inexpensively, you can go online and take an hour-and-a-half test on a series of brain games that can be done one at a time or all in one sitting, and measure the kind of performance you have based upon these aptitudes. And then meld that with self-interest reporting about your interest, get some feedback about how you work in groups and how you approach work, and some temperament issues. And we algorithmically put that together to recommend some occupations you should go explore. And that's what we call good career science. And I think you're going to hear a lot more about it. There's a lot of real interest in this stuff.
So does that, a lot of these tools and things that we traditionally use in schools, sometimes they're culturally based. And we work with, now we've got such a global economy and a global society, we can be working with students all over the world. Is that make it easier to go from a global or an international, kind of erasing the cultural biases that might be in some of these other instruments?
I think clearly, but I'll let you answer the question. If we know what it takes to perform, to do these tasks and these jobs, it really doesn't matter the culture you come from. It's a performance measure. That's why this good career science is performance-based, not self-report. So we think we have that well identified and take care of. And the data we're collecting are from schools that very much look like the population of the US generally. So we've really done a good job of oversampling people who really fit the population demographics. When you go to a large number of schools in Atlanta, you're getting a clear picture of what America looks like. And that's where a lot of our research has come from recently. And now we're really in every state and collecting every bit of data. The wonderful thing about data collection is you'll learn to make your tool better every day. And that's what's wonderful about using technology.
Definitely, definitely. And I think that's one of the things that sets apart your research that you've done, what I'm familiar with in YouScience and many other tools, because I've been a counselor for, over 20 years. So I've seen lots of tools come and go, and we've used a lot with our students, but there's a huge difference between self-reporting and being able to measure basically innate abilities. And I think that's a key difference.
Yeah, and I think the challenge we have is how to educate people to understand that, because it's very easy to talk about interest and passion and do what you love and the money will follow, which I kind of tease a little bit about, because everybody gets what they want. They get back exactly what they want. What's really good is when you get good career science, it says, here are the things that you really do naturally and easily, and they show up all the time. So let's go with those aces you have to explore the kind of things you want to. Now, everybody can do everything, but it's not as easy for everyone based upon how you get distracted, how much energy it's going to take, how hard it is to stay focused. And we know with aptitudes, in your case, the aptitudes you have, you really run with and you do them so well you don't even know you have them. So you're getting what Cyndy McDonald calls flow. If we put you in occupations that don't call upon your aptitudes, you frankly get distracted because you're either not utilizing the ones you have, or you're asked to use those that really demand all kind of effort that doesn't come naturally.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. So if somebody wants to learn more about the research, these projects, YouScience, the board game, where should they go to learn more?
You can go to richfeller.com, which is my personal website. And there you can find films and research and documentation of what I've been saying here. You can go to YouScience, youscience.com, youscience.com, and you'll find all the research there and access to the tool. And I'd be happy to get people free passcodes to try it. And there's videos that support this. And then the Who You Are Matters game comes under our company called One, O-N-E, Life Tools, One Life Tools. And there you can find our research as well. We have free public workshops every Tuesday night, and we have online training now, so you can purchase it and get trained online video-based. So we're trying to use the power of technology to get to scale. The joy of my life is I've been so grateful to learn from colleagues like you and so many clients. And now I'm trying to do things that get to scale with a price point that reaches everyone. And I think that's what we're able to do.
Yeah, I understand. Being in technology myself with our guided path, we're always trying to find that too. So thank you so much. This has just been so illuminating, and appreciate your time tremendously. And trying to help educate us as counselors and teachers is a really important. It is important to us to have understanding, because I think career. That's the whole purpose of college and higher education, and trying to help students and families understand that in the beginning is so essential.
Well, Cyndy, thank you for the great work you're doing, and all your colleagues listening. I'm a real benefactor of going to school and having encouragement from people like you. So my best to all of you.
Thank you.
Bye now.